condo sellers facing longer wait, more selective buyers amid flurry of new launches. So if you're a seller wanting to sell in 2026, you definitely want to hear this. Let's talk about it. Welcome to episode 1 of Daron's Digest, whereby we interpret the news and share with you how it impacts you as a consumer. So you have seen the news. Condo sellers facing longer waits, more selective buyers amid flurry of new launches in the market, and also in the public housing market, resale prices post first dip in nearly 7 years in Q1 2026. And another article, HDB resale prices index fall for the first time in nearly 7 years. So what is happening in the market? Let me share more with you. So as an active practitioner on the ground for the last 10 years, right, we have observed certain patterns in the market that I want to share with you, and certain methods that we have helped our clients, right, that works in the last few years that may not work in this few years. So if you're a seller, what this means is that previously in 2021, 2022, right, whereby you realize the supply then is very low, but the demand is very high. So what happened then? So back then there was a shortage of units, that TOP, shortage of launches, even the BTOs were delayed back then. So where does all the demand go to? The demand actually flocks to the resale market. So that's where you realize that when you're searching for a property, right, you will find like a record low number of units. In an area whereby sometimes listings should be about 200 choices available, you do find it as low as 30 to 40 choices available. With the amount of duplicate listings, maybe sometimes even 10 to 20 listings are only available. So everyone was grabbing units then. That was the 2021, 2022, even 2023 market, right? Buyers were grabbing onto units and prices were always inching up higher and higher. So if you're a seller then in the market, right, in terms of whether to sell first or to buy first, right, I would definitely recommend in that market, you can do the buying first. What I mean by that is that because the supply is so low, right, we don't know when you'll be able to buy a unit. So what some of my sellers did is that they went into the market, okay, we waited for the right unit to appear, we secured it, but also asked the sellers for a long option period. So we did like a 4 to 6 months option period so that it gives us ample time to sell our place. So that was quite a method that was very popular in the last few years, because why? The selling is very easy, but the buying is more tough. So we use that approach to help our sellers to secure their next unit and also to sell their unit well. However, in 2025, 2026, I've actually started to discourage using this method, because what is happening now in the market is that the market is not crashing. So don't be like so scared about it. But it's actually returning back. It's actually normalizing. So what I mean by that is that supply is actually increasing. You have seen what the government is doing. They're pumping in so much BTOs, which actually strips away the demand from the resale market. And actually, the second timers will also go and buy a new condo, go and buy a new BTO flat, and they are now forced to sell their current place, which means it adds to the supply as well. So all this is adding to more and more supply into the market, which actually helps to really regulate the market. I think this is long-term very good for Singapore. But what it means for you as a seller is that, right, your old methods that we actually recommended in 2022 may not work in today's market, because it will be actually very risky to follow that old method. So what I mean by this is that, let's say right now you're trying to sell your unit whereby you have like 200 over listings in the market that are competing with you. So what is the problem is that if you do this buy first and then sell method, right, which means you go and long option a unit, you might still secure the unit, but you will put actually a lot of downward pressure on your selling. Because why? 4 to 6 months is relatively a long time, but you will want to give yourself some breathing space. When you have 200 listings in the market, if you're not priced well, you're not advertised well, right, it can take a longer time to sell. So it is very normal now to take a slightly longer time to sell. What I mean by that is that if I put it into context, previously, like some of the HDB flats that I've sold or some of the condos that I've sold, right, I've only seen the houses twice. First time, I meet the owner. Next week, we list it up. I do an open house. And then next thing I know, it's sold. So it got so fast to the point that sometimes I can't even remember some of the places that I've sold. So that's how fast it is. That's how crazy the market is. And really, we know that that was not a sustainable market. So what I mean by slightly longer now is that do be prepared to be in the market for sometimes up to 1 to 3 months or even sometimes longer. So it's not really the agent's fault, but it's more of just how the market works right now with a bit more supply. So with that said, right, this previous strategy of the long option, right, will be very risky because you're putting a lot of pressure on the selling side. So is it to say I should sell first as well? Okay, I would say the answer is it really depends. I really hate to use this word, depends, right? But what I mean is that you can actually consider to do it in a concurrent manner. While you're listing your property, you can also go and search for your next property as well. Or actually what I really highly recommend in today's market, if it allows, is that you should do a bit of research with your consultant, find out what are the properties that are within your budget after doing your calculation, and then after that, from there, start listing your property first. sell it for the best possible terms and best possible price. What I mean by best possible terms is that sell it without any extension of stay, you know, maximize your sale price, don't compromise on your selling side. So sell for as best as you can, right? And if possible, find a temporary home to stay first. If you have a parent's home to stay, that is the best. Of course, I can understand some families don't have that kind of luxury and you need the 3 months extension of stay. Yes, if you want to, you can still ask for the 3 months extension of stay, but you must compromise on something, right? Sometimes you might have to compromise on the pricing, or sometimes you might have to compromise on the purchase side. So I would say different stroke for different folks. Do speak to your consultant. If it's myself, what I always like to do with our clients is that we have a 1 to 2 hour sit down session. I'll lay out all the different options for them so that they know what they're getting themselves into and they know which one is actually the best plan for them. So if you like more insights like this, do me a favor. Please click on the like and subscribe button. This will really encourage me to do more. I want to try to do once every week. Yeah, this is my promise to you. So yeah, if you like what you see, do subscribe.